Live on SportsGrid, it is betting above the rim. Pro basketball today. The big three back at it. Tom Vecchio said, all right, listen, game 82. I decided I need a little bit more. He's back here, playoff style. Of course, Coach James Young, Tom Vecchio, I'm Kevin Walsh here on this Saturday morning where we are assessing what has been, JY, a very fun round number one, some surprise eliminations, some game sevens still to come.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a great first round. I mean, you just take out the 1-8 series. Let's just knock it out of the way.
Those are great.
They're absolutely terrible. But all of the rest of the series have been really competitive. You know, before the playoffs started, a lot of stuff that Kevin and I and Tom talked about has come to fruition. Next series goes, what we thought over 5.5 games. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit about this series here between, what happened last night between the Warriors and the Rockets. You look at the game tonight. It's been really competitive basketball besides the 1-8 series. Even the Boston series, Tom, versus Orlando, was sneaky competitive at times.
Yeah, it was. First off, it's great to be back after a couple weeks out on assignment. Good to be back here. But yeah, that Boston-Orlando series, I thought was going to be one of the better matchups. And when we look at Orlando overall, like they play super slow, they play strong on defense. Like they do essentially the same things that the Celtics do, but the Celtics just had far more talent, far better shooters when it's all said and done. So I thought it was a really good series. And Personally, I love seeing game totals at 199. Oh, yeah. I love seeing this type of basketball. I don't want to see the totals at 230. 199, 198 in the playoffs. That's what I like to see. And it truly was an awesome series. I thought it was a really good step for the Magic overall. Paolo Banchero's awesome. Franz Wagner is awesome. But they need someone else to help facilitate that offense. They just need a little more talent overall. Regardless of that, we have an awesome Game 7 tonight. We have an awesome Game 7 coming up tomorrow. And then we are set for really, really good series. I think the Cavs-Pacers series has to be the most interesting, especially from a betting perspective. I do think the Cavs win it, but seeing a line where they're minus 460 to win the series, I think that's wrong. I think there's objective value in the Pacers, even though they may not win the series. I do think it is a good, or 550, whatever it might be at this point. Yeah. I think there's objective value in the Pacers.
I am someone who believed in Indiana coming into the season, but I fully believe in Cleveland as we get underway in these playoffs. Their dominant performance over Miami was so dominant, Miami became the story for how embarrassing that all was. We'll certainly work that in. We'll preview the set-up Eastern Conference matchups, of course, with Boston and New York. Can the Knicks even remotely compete? The odds makers don't believe so in any capacity here. You have Oklahoma City. I mean, they might be on a beach somewhere, vacationing with the layoff that they have in between rounds 1 and round 2. Minnesota pulling off what is, up until this point, the only upset in round number 1 with beating the LA Lakers. I think many believe, though, that Minnesota's round 2 opponent, JY, was going to be known at the end of Game 6, Houston and Golden State. The Warriors now on the verge of blowing a 3-1 series lead.
And that's something to watch because, let's be honest, they have blown it before. I mean, it happened once before.
Oh, wow.
So everybody wants to talk about, Steph Curry, greatest point guard of all time. They lose tomorrow night. That'll be 2-3-1 series lead. Magic Johnson, by the way, never blew one. Just want to put that out there right there. I'll put even right now. But it's one of those things where if you're Golden State and you're at home, you're expected to win that game. You have everything there. You think about a couple of years ago when they got rolled absolutely by Memphis in that trick game. They went home and they beat Memphis. 2-7 matchup against a team that didn't have experience. But all of a sudden, Fab Five Freddy got hot. And he was, let's be honest, folks, sorry to say this, Steph, the best player on the floor in the second half last night. When it came down to winning time, Fred got going. 5 of 9 for the floor, 4 out of 6 from 3. 13. I think he had 19 points after the break, along with 5 rebounds and 4 assists. He literally took the team on his back and carried them. But it's deeper than that. It's a play of Thompson. By the way, if you are not a fan of the Thompson twins, you got to have your pulse checked because you get them. Y'all need to come down to Jersey. Come see Coach Young.
All right.
And let's get. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Y'all got to come down to Jersey.
This guy's nuts.
And you got to get with Coach Young. and we got to hold on, I'm not done. And we got to get in the lab. We got to fix that jump shot. Because if we get that jump shot fixed, I mean, I'm talking about, these guys are going to be, top 20 players in the NBA. No, of course they're going to say thanks to me. But then you have to look at the other side of Golden State. People are going to sit there, and we'll talk about the Lakers, how, they never addressed the center position. They never got a center. Can we talk about Golden State a little bit?
Yeah.
Can we talk about the fact that, Steven Adams, basically they, bring him off the shelf, and he's dominating the series. We have to talk about the fact that while we want to come at teams like the Lakers for their ability or non-ability to guard bigs, guys, we got to talk about that Golden State has the same problem, if not worse.
It's not worse, and we were talking pre-show that when it comes to the Warriors for me, it's like, okay, we have Steph, we went and got Jimmy. You guys need to go out there and be Batman and Robin, and if they're not doing that, there's no other help that the Warriors are getting. On the defensive end, I think things are okay, but when we're looking at the scores from last night, I think it points it pretty clear. Not the Draymond score. I think we know we're going to get from him. Not a ton on the offense, but Buddy Hield doing nothing, Peyton doing nothing, Looney off the bench, Knox doing nothing. I know these players not doing their major roles, but you need to see more from Moody. Kuminga, as you said, was a DNP last night. So the Warriors, the scoring is the issue for me. If Steph and Jimmy are not going out there both dropping 30, they don't have a shot. I think the way the Rockets are playing on defense, especially, is fantastic. Steven Adams coming off the bench, and then when they're doing the pick and rolls, we were discussing, Steven Adams is staying up top. He's not dropping. There's no worry for the offensive
threat. You're not going to worry about the roll.
And they are keeping Steph out on the perimeter with two defenders because there's no other threat to score.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues for Golden State. Also, they have no idea what their best five is.
Oh.
Gary Payton and Buddy Hield were in the starting lineup last night. That began by being both spots of Pods and Moses Moody. Kuminga is in and out of the rotation. They don't know if they can go to Quentin Post or Kevon Looney if they needed to try to put some size onto the court, so they try and hack Adams him out of the game, which is, again, just kind of a fascinating thing to watch play out. We'll get more into this series. We're also going to get a lot more into tonight's Game 7, which takes place in Denver, where the Nuggets host the Los Angeles Clippers. Incredibly, this series, at one point, saw the Clippers up 2-1. And it was doom and gloom, and oh my goodness, just give credit to Jokic for even winning a game. And now those same people are like, come on, how could you bet against Jokic? It's Game 7. A lot of zigging and zagging. When it comes to these two teams, the winner will move on to play Oklahoma City, and potentially some legacy stuff even on the line here tonight with some all-timers looking to advance into round number 2. Jokic has not really made a habit of making the conference finals under the hat. Kawhi Leonard is given all flowers whenever he plays well, and if he doesn't, don't worry, it's not his fault. And then it's Game 7 James Harden. Can he be trusted tonight in any capacity to show up here for the Clippers? He doesn't have to be the reason they win. It'd be nice. But can James Harden even avoid being the reason they lose? That is where we go next here on our show this morning. A Game 7 in the Mile High. We're live with you on SportsGrid. It's Coach James Young, it's Tom Vecchio, and it is Kevin Walsh. Are we excited here for some Game 7s, fellas?
Absolutely.
Of course.
This series was destined to go 6 or 7, and the fact that we do get 7 puts things in a fantastic spot. We got a lot to break down.
It's going to be fun to figure out here where the value is in this Game 7. So once again, it is Betting Above the Rim Pro Basketball today. We will be right back here on SportsGrid after this break.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
They've won 7 in a row. They've been dominant at Citi Field. Lindor's been insane. Pete Alonso's been raking.
Griffin Canning, David Peterson, those guys have pitched really, really well. And when you put it together with that lineup, especially like you said, Lindor's been great. They've got the makings of something very special in Queens.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Fans hate them. Like, kids go to Giant games and they're like, my father forces me to come, or my grandfather was a season ticket holder. Like, no one has fun. It's a miserable place to go.
The Giants' problem has always been, over the last several years, and it's been the reason why Barkley never really got off, is the offensive line.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back right here on SportsGrid, Kevin Walsh with Tom Vecchio and Coach James Young on this Saturday morning. Game 7. It's Nuggets, it's Clippers. And being here in a game number 7 is not so surprising. I wonder if for the books they're a little surprised with who they have positioned as the favorites in this one, due to booking the Clippers as favorites in every game after game number 1. Game 1, Denver opened as a 2.5-point favorite. Remember it well because I laid those 2.5 points and watched Norm Powell hit a 3 down 5, which was not a fun time. Then the Clippers were favored to win Game 2. Of course, they were favored to win their home games, and they were favored to win Game 5. So we've seen these go back and forth here on the spread. There is certainly a boost for hosting a Game 7, so I think you're seeing that in the market right now. I believe this number even opened up a little bit stronger than the present 1.5 that you do have on the Nuggets. We can kind of go backwards at some point here about how we got here, but where are you right now, Coach, in your breakdown of Nuggets-Clippers Game 7?
It really comes down to the play of a couple of players, and I'm not talking about Kawhi Leonard and Nikola Jokic. I fully expect those two players to deliver. I'm looking at one player from each side. Number one, you have to look at James Harden. You have to look at the last time he was in a spot of a Game 7. His performance against Boston as a member of Philadelphia 76ers was absolutely dreadful. And there is that James Harden Game 7 talk. But a little bit less of a talk about, honestly, is Michael Porter Jr. Michael Porter Jr., that is such a crazy story because you either get Michael Porter Jr. like, this guy's the top 25 player in the NBA, to is this guy even should be in the starting lineup right now? So there is that big play of that. And then you saw, obviously, some play out of what obviously Ty Lue did, putting someone like Nicholas Batum in the lineup to guard Jokic. I want to see, as a coach, what are the adjustments that Denver is going to make? Particularly, where do you put Aaron Gordon and where do you put Michael Porter Jr. in regards to spacing on the floor? For me, Nikola Jokic likes the ball on that right block. I would give it to him that right block. I would go high slot, with Aaron Gordon, who's a really good diver and an offensive rebounder. I would dive him and bring Michael Porter Jr. out of the corner. Make them tag Gordon and then throw it out to Porter. If I see that early, Tom, I'm going to be looking at Michael Porter made threes because I think he's got to knock down shots that can maybe open up the offense if the Clippers go small again.
I would agree with that. I think when it comes down to the Denver offense, and really both offenses overall, are we in a spot that we're comfortable of, like, etching Jokic into stone? Like, we know what we're going to get from him. Like, we know that we should be getting X amount. Are we willing to say the same with Kawhi? Harden's the factor that everyone's worried about, not only just because it's a Game 7, but also his postseason experience and lack thereof when it comes to Game 7s and big performances. To me, overall, I think this game comes down to what do we get from Norman Powell, what do we get from MPJ, and what do we get from Aaron Gordon? Because Gordon, to me, has been, I would say, the unsung hero at this point for Denver. We're getting solid performances out of Murray, especially as of late. You'd say they're not all great this series, but they are, I would say, better on the most part. But Aaron Gordon and Norman Powell, because if Harden is not doing that scoring, they're going to need it from somewhere else. And Powell has been good. Again, not to harken back to that Game 1 shot, but he has been a consistent scorer for them overall. So Powell and Gordon, I think, are the key players because if they are opened up in terms of scoring, that will free up Murray to do just a little bit more here or there. And he doesn't need to go for 30 alongside Jokic. He can go for 20, 22 if we're getting 16-ish from Gordon.
So last year, the Denver Nuggets season was ended at home in a Game 7. In a game where they scored 90 points. Would everyone like to hear how the scoring was distributed in that game for the Denver Nuggets?
Yeah.
Jamal Murray, 35. Nikola Jokic, 34. Michael Porter Jr., 7. 5 for KCP. 5 for Christian Brown. 4 for Aaron Gordon. Those are all the points.
Yep.
They scored 90 in their own building at home in a game where their two best players combined for 69. To me, the Nuggets team total is too high. That number sits at 104.5. I look towards the under on that number here. I pre-series was a Denver in 7 guy. I find myself, if you remove everything and just focus on what is this game tonight, actually leaning towards the Clippers a little bit. Part of that is my thought that a Game 7 would favor Denver was, well, Jamal Murray can turn it up a notch. The 43-point performance that Jamal Murray delivered in Game 5, which was absolutely phenomenal, I just wonder if that came a little bit early. Jamal Murray has not scored over 23 points since that, in any of the other games in this series. Even if Jokic gives them 35 tonight, they probably still need at least 25, if not 30 plus from Jamal Murray. And I have hesitations that they are going to get that type of effort out of Jamal here in this game, Coach.
And that's why you have to look at Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. They have to be the guys. I'm not going to trust Westbrook in this spot because I think if I'm the Clippers, I'm going to sit off and make him shoot. It's got to be about those two. And just looking, really quick deep diving, Michael Porter Jr. over 1.5 made threes is minus 120 on FanDuel. If you think that they're going to win, he's got to hit at least 2. He may have to hit 3 of them because someone's going to have to loosen him. If I'm Ty Lue, I'm sending double teams, I'm tagging, and I'm looking at Michael Porter Jr. saying, I'm making you beat me. Right. I'm not going to allow Gordon to get to the basket. I'm not going to allow Jokic to go crazy. And I'm certainly going to load up on Jamal Murray. It comes down to Michael Porter Jr. Can he knock down enough plays, Tom?
I would agree with the same. It's like, we're going to let you shoot, and you have to prove it to us before we change our defensive assignments to give them extra help to guard MPJ. Jokic first, Murray second. If those other guys aren't scoring, it can get late early for the Nuggets.
I think we are going to kind of dive a little bit more then into some of the superstar props in this game. If you are going to back Jokic, how do you try and get involved? There are some Kawhi numbers that really jump off of the page to me in this spot here. He's not been his most efficient self since game number 2, so we will break those down after a quick break. We're live with you right here on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
They've won 7 in a row. They've been dominant at Citi Field. Lindor's been insane. Pete Alonso's been raking.
You know, Griffin Canning, David Peterson, those guys have pitched really, really well. And when you put it together with that lineup, especially like you said, Lindor's been great. You know, they've got the makings of something very special in Queens.
Pharrell, coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
Fans hate them. Like, kids go to Giant games and they're like, my father forces me to come, or my grandfather was a season ticket holder. Like, no one has fun. It's a miserable place to go.
The Giants' problem has always been over the last several years, and it's been the reason why Barkley never really got off, is the offensive line.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple 18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
BATR up against it here on a Saturday morning as we try and figure out the way to attack a Game 7 in Denver. Let's start with Nikola Jokic because the Joker is having a great series. We know that. Averaging the triple-double. But I'm going to suggest, again, he's having a great series. I think he has likely been the best player in the playoffs up until this point. But there is one aspect I think he has been underwhelming by his standards, and that is scoring the basketball. Because Jokic was a top 3 point per game guy in the NBA this year. Jokic averaged his career high in points this season, a tick under 30. The routine for Nikola Jokic in the playoffs is to up his scoring average without fail. He's had a number of postseasons where he's averaged 30 a game. So for Jokic to come off of a regular season where he's giving you nearly 30 a game, and to right now only have one 30-point performance in the series, I do think is a little bit surprising. Again, I am not even saying this in a Jokic isn't doing enough way. I'm talking about it's just surprising he's not scoring that much, and it's obviously impacting then how you attack the prop markets because he has been an under in this series more than he has been an over. What do you think about Jokic, Tom, scoring the ball, triple-double wise? Any value for you?
You know, at this point, it depends on what narrative we're buying into. If we are buying into the narrative that the Clippers are going to do their due diligence and throw the extra defensive resources at Jokic, then yeah, it does make sense that under 28.5 would be the spot to go. And right, it's a little bit juicy, at least I'm seeing here on FanDuel minus 132, but if we're buying into the narrative that MPJ and Gordon have to do more, they have to score more, and it's not going to be as much Jokic, then buying into unders and or overs on his assist props because MPJ does have to knock down those threes. We have to tell ourselves a story about what we want to see in this game. So I think the under 28.5 would be the spot to look for Jokic. This is not to say that he can't have a triple-double, even if he does go under on that. So that's where I'm initially leaning. His PRA prop is sitting at, was it 49.5?
Yeah, it's big time.
49.5. So, listen, there's a chance that he still goes over that and under on the points. Now, obviously, we're working with some thin margins at that point, but under 28.5 would be my initial look.
What are you thinking here, JY?
You know, when Kevin and I did the show last Saturday, I said that they had to get him the ball early.
Yep.
And and I think it's points prop that game. If I'm not right, Kevin, I think it was 7.5, and he needed like a half court. He needed some kind of crazy shot to hit it. But to me, when you have the quote unquote best player in the world in this series, like you just look at the shot attempts: 16, 14, 25, 13, 22. You can't live with this guy getting you 12, 13, 14 shots. You don't have a shot in hell. You don't, because he's got to be able to force the issue. See, I'm going back to the first quarter, 6.5 points, and going over, because I think what they may do is they may go ahead him early before the substitution of Batum comes into the game, and try to take advantage of it early and often. You often want to see players in this spot say, you know what? You got to grab the bull by the horns, and you have to go to attack mode early. Yeah. If I'm looking at Nikola Jokic at the end of the first quarter, and it's like, I don't know, game number 6, where I think he took or game 5, where he took 3 shots in the first quarter. Like, that's a problem. That's a major problem. I would say Nikola Jokic goes over his points prop. I mean, there's part of me, I've never bet first basket. Part of me is like, first basket's got to go to Nikola Jokic. Like, get the ball inside, go to work. If you get a foul call on Zubac, you get a foul call on Zubac. But I need to see Nikola Jokic be established early and often, over 6.5 points first quarter.
So I think that Jokic could be in line for a really strong three-point shooting game. He has kind of moved, up and down throughout the series in that market. The same is true for Kawhi. So if I had to pick between the two, Kawhi for 3+ made threes is a plus 140, is my favorite, again, of the two options. Kawhi last game 2 of 8, 3 straight games without 3 made threes. It's a clear and obvious bounce back spot in a game 7. You know the minutes are going to be big time. I think the volume will be big time. But my favorite way to play either guy is bringing them together. I always talk about this, the head-to-head player prop market on DK. Jokic and Kawhi to combine over 4.5 made threes is plus 120. I think one of them getting you 4 is totally on the board there. I don't know if I can find an alt market of them maybe combined for 6 or so. I'll take a look. I think you are going to see those two superstars stand up. We will circle back to this game, but we go to Golden State, Houston next, right here on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
They've won 7 in a row. They've been dominant at Citi Field. Lindor's been insane. Pete Alonso's been raking.
Griffin Canning, David Peterson, those guys have pitched really, really well. And when you put it together with that lineup, especially like you said, Lindor's been great. They've got the makings of something very special in Queens.
Pharrell, coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
Fans hate them. Like, kids go to Giant games and they're like, my father forces me to come, or my grandfather was a season ticket holder. Like, no one has fun. It's a miserable place to go.
The Giants' problem has always been over the last several years, and it's been the reason why Barkley never really got off, is the offensive line.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
Rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple 18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Golden State and Houston will play a Game 7. I'm really surprised by this. Again, especially when you do a betting show, you can't just plant your flag and then never adjust to what you're seeing. So as someone who picked Houston to win this series, in no world am I going to sit here and go, I knew they'd win Game 6. That would be lying. That would be outrageous. The Warriors were set up perfectly to win Game 6 because, even though most people don't care, Steph completely no-showed 2 straight games in this series. 17 in Game 4, 13 in Game 5, and he really no-showed Game 5. The Warriors no-showed Game 5. Steph got out of there with 23 minutes. Steve Kerr, basically, if he wouldn't have been kicked out of the NBA, might as well have just sat his starters, because that's clearly what they wanted to do. They were talking about, we're not going to force our guys if we don't have it tonight. Going into the game, they punted a game in this series so they would win Game 6. And then they lost Game 6. Now, all of the pedigree and experience is, of course, still in their back pocket entering into a Game 7. The similarities of this series and their 2 seasons ago matchup with Sacramento are obvious, which ended on the road, Steph scoring 50 and eliminating that basketball team. They did end up, though, not winning a 6 made threes game out of Steph, which I don't think many people would have expected a possibility entering this matchup. And I think one of the things, and you hit on this at the open, Tom, about the Warriors' defense being good enough. Through the beginnings of this series, absolutely.
Yeah.
131 in Game 5, 115 in Game 6. If the Rockets have somewhat solved Golden State's defense here, Tom, then the Warriors are in a world of trouble. The path for this team beating Houston is the Rockets can't score, Steph's offense is more reliable, we win this game 103-94.
Yeah, and that's something, we've kind of been alluding to. Like, I think the Warriors' defense has been, as you said, it's been good enough. It hasn't need to be...
To start,
especially in Game 5 was absolutely terrible. That was just a lackluster, no-show performance overall from the Warriors. When it comes to Game 7, like the path, I think, for the Warriors winning is that they need to obviously limit Van Vliet, who's been awesome. You can say this may be the best Van Vliet that we've seen since he was in Toronto.
Yeah.
It's limiting him. It's limiting Şengün as much as they possibly can, and it's then getting a well-rounded team effort. And that's what I really think it comes down to. The scoring doesn't have to be there only from Steph. It has to be Jimmy doing his part, which he's going to do.
Yeah.
But the secondary and tertiary pieces for the Warriors need to score. They need to get something. You need to get double digits out of someone consistently. And whether it's Kuminga getting back in the mix, whether it's Moody scoring, whether it's even Hield hitting some threes, whatever it might be, I think that's what it truly comes down to for the Warriors. If they put this on Steph and say, we need you to score 40, they are going to lose this game by 10 points.
And I think when you look at it, too, it's the fact that Steph and Jimmy played 42 minutes 2 nights ago, or last night. That's a ton of minutes to turn around and travel and go play a Game 7. So it's going to take another guy. The problem is as a coach, like you watch a game and you're like, okay, I get what Steve Kerr's doing. I feel like Steve Kerr's grasping at straws right now.
Yeah.
And you don't know who's going to be it. So I think as a player, it's kind of rough because I don't even think you know where your minutes are coming from or when they're coming. So I think there is an issue there. I also think Houston is starting to play, I'm not saying run, but play a little bit more up-tempo. They're starting to get up and down a little bit more. And then obviously the thing is and Tom mentioned it, like, let's be honest, the last 3 games, the best player on the floor has been Fred VanVleet.
Yeah.
I mean, he is outplaying Steph Curry. And that's something that none of us had in our bingo card 8 point. Maybe in a small stretch, but over 3 games, Fred VanVleet has been better than Steph.
I just want to make one point real quick. When you say they're getting up and down and running, I think the series started off with saying, like, okay, hang on. These are the Warriors. We don't want to get into a shootout with them because Steph's going to go for 50 and we'll lose. They've gotten to the point they're like, hey, we can beat them now. And we can beat them almost partially at their own game. If we get out and score, we know we can kind of stop them. And we can go punch for punch with them. We're coming into it, the Rockets as a young team, you wouldn't say, oh, we're going to outscore Steph Curry and the Warriors. They say, hang on, we actually can do this now.
So I think there's so much there. I want to here's the thing with Steph. All right, if we can just put Steph in an accurate ranking level, like I wouldn't have to do this. But LeBron is getting more slander for being outplayed, and I'm not even fully sure he was, if we want to open that Pandora's box, by Anthony Edwards, than Steph is for being outplayed by FVV and Alperen Şengün. So to be able to say, like, oh, well, Steph's just going to be brilliant in Game 7, maybe.
That's the expectation.
Yeah, right.
Well, but Steph was, chance.
But right. Steph was supposed to be brilliant in Game 6. Steph scored 5 in the first quarter, went on an 11-0, a literal only person to score 11-0 run in a 2-minute window in the second quarter. The thing is, he did nothing the rest of the quarter. They still lost that quarter. He was non-existent in the fourth. They could not score the basketball, and he was nowhere to be found. And I know people are like, well, the Rockets are doing the anybody but Steph defense. 100%. But if we're banking on Steph and they are then somewhat eliminating Steph, it becomes fascinating. The reason I would still, and I know I said I picked Houston in the series. I understand that. But the reason a Game 7 does shade Golden State is Game 7s are so low scoring. The total is barely over 200. That is the path for Golden State. If the Rockets can keep their foot on the gas, I also think, though, it's very likely that FEV struggles from beyond the arc in Game 7 because this is outrageous. He has one of the best 3-game stretches in, like, Rockets postseason history. That shouldn't be a thing. I was ready to cut him after Game 1 and get Reed Shepherd the minutes he deserves. Jalen Green has to step up. Well, that seems like false hope a little bit in this game. So while I don't think that Golden State is done in any capacity, right? Here is where I know Coach will agree. I don't know where you'll land on, Tom. Golden State is not beating Minnesota, even if they get through Houston in this series. Not a chance.
Defensively, I think Minnesota is the team that you want, or if you were looking to back a team, you're like, okay, they match up, the puzzle piece fits together. What Minnesota can do on defense will shut down the Warriors.
And JY, I think maybe it was much earlier on in the postseason. You were talking with some people about what a Golden State Minnesota series price would be, but I think you would have to acknowledge Golden State having to go 7 and Minnesota finishing the Lakers off in 5. And we're going to get to that series next. Minnesota, I think now at this point, we might see minus 200 with having home court on a series price against the Warriors.
And when we talked about it, I think it was with on the early line when I talked about it, it was simply about the fact that it was 3-1.
At the time.
At the time.
Yeah.
Everything has changed. And the recipe now for Houston is not going to be walk it up. It's to make Steve Kerr over coach. It's to make Steve Kerr go to the bench and try to find minutes and look at Steph and Jimmy at the fourth quarter, who shot combined 1 of 12 with a chance to close at home, and saying, I think you're going to do it again. They have to play with a little bit more pace and use their youth, what may actually help Jalen Green in the open court.
I'm also going to throw this out there. I've been saying this now for a couple weeks. And I know Greg Popovich just retired. We're going to hit that a little bit later on. To some degree, the I'll press any button, who cares approach from Steve Kerr, unless he's already decided he will retire when Steph does, don't be surprised if he puts a press release out at the end of the season and steps away from the game. We'll talk about Minnesota and LA. How the Lakers' season ended, that's next.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups. My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
They've won 7 in a row. They've been dominant at Citi Field. Lindor's been insane. Pete Alonso's been raking.
You know, Griffin Canning, David Peterson, those guys have pitched really, really well. And when you put it together with that lineup, especially like you said, Lindor's been great. You know, they've got the makings of something very special in Queens.
Pharrell, coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
Fans hate them. Like, kids go to Giant games and they're like, my father forces me to come, or my grandfather was a season ticket holder. Like, no one has fun. It's a miserable place to go.
The Giants' problem has always been over the last several years, and it's been the reason why Barkley never really got off, is the offensive line.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The winner of Rockets Warriors will face the Minnesota Timberwolves. An upset that, really, if you actually look around, it's going to really end up the biggest upset of round number one. Now, Golden State was a bigger favorite than the Rockets, but we'll rewrite history. The Warriors were never supposed to. They were a 7 seed. Come on, nobody can blame Steph for anything. And if the Nuggets are eliminated by the Clippers, I think that's the upset, but also that series price bounced around quite a lot. So the Lakers' loss really is the big upset of round number one. I'll go to you first, Jay. You know I have a lot to say, but I'll go to you first, Jay. Why? Because you were on Minnesota in this series. You believed Minnesota would make a conference finals run, which they are now favored to. What did you take away from Lakers Timberwolves?
That J.J. Redick, for the first time in a big spot, showed his inexperience. And he showed his stubbornness, and he showed his... We were talking about Steve Kerr, like, grasping at straws. I also saw J.J. Redick saying, this is what we're doing. And you looked at the Lakers lost this series, folks. You're going to think I'm crazy? At the trade deadline. And it's not getting the fact they got Luka, because they got their superstar for the next 15 years. It's whatever the hell happened in that Mark Williams trade, which I don't know if we're ever going to get the story. I think even Mark Williams was like putting like cryptic stuff on social media after they got knocked out. They lost that series because of the fact that they had Jackson Hayes, who went from getting like 10 minutes to getting 4 minutes to getting no minutes, and it kept getting worse. We saw the Naz Reid game in game one. They came back in game two. And then you just saw like Jay just kind of sit on this island of it's okay. And then Rudy Gobert goes out and looks like Wilt Chamberlain in game five. Rudy Gobert, who had like 15 points and 22 rebounds in 4 games, gave you like 27 and 24. And at no point did J.J. Redick think, I'm going to throw a big out there. Hey, just to throw something out there. And then there was Ant, who was not great in game five, but game 4 was literally like, go home. I'm trying to punk everybody on the floor. And then there's Austin Reeves. And Austin Reeves that we were saying after the trade deadline, third option, best in the league. Austin Reeves turned into a goddamn pumpkin. I shouldn't say goddamn, sorry. Turned into a pumpkin in this series. The Lakers have a lot of issues. If they're going to make a run next year, they need a big. They need a bench. But the biggest thing they need is J.J. Redick not to be Tom so stubborn.
Yeah, I think when you what takeaway you want to get from the series comes from what perspective you're trying to look at it. You're saying is this due to the downfall of the Lakers and J.J. Redick and coding, or can we on the other side of the coin is it like we're actually going to give the flowers to Minnesota that they deserve? Like depends on like what narrative you're trying to push essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the Lakers' downfalls or is that actually just Minnesota succeeding because they are the better, more well-rounded team? And that's what comes down to me. For me, I think the adjustments and the overall structure of the team that Minnesota has, I would say is a more well-rounded team that is capable of doing things. And the Lakers didn't have that answer for Rudy, and that comes down to they didn't make those trades at the deadline. They couldn't get Mark Williams, the physical issue, the failed physical, whatever it might be. But then, to me, with Hayes and Vanderbilt, they need to at least try things, which is the lack of what J.J. Redick didn't do. So do we want to give credit to Minnesota, or do we want to be on the negative side and say, listen, it's because J.J. Redick's inexperience, that's why they lost? But in reality, it's kind of both. They didn't have the trade deadline, they didn't make the adjustments, and also Minnesota was the exact team to take advantage of those things that they didn't have.
So Minnesota definitely deserves credit, right? And I think that they have been given a lot of credit. But when a team like the Lakers is upset, it is the predominant story. They played a lot of close games, and sometimes you can just get it close. The Lakers, though, I think I will talk to you about this, I thought would win the West. And after game 2, which they won, I was like, oh, that's not happening. Because the Lakers' offense was supposed to be almost impossible to stop. Because it's LeBron and Luka, and what are you supposed to do? The Lakers barely average 100 points per game in this series. There were so many things wrong in this series. So many. But none bigger than the fact that they could not score the basketball. And when you're trying to figure out who is at fault, JJ is front of mind. Because the lack of Jackson Hayes minutes he was just wrong about. He's like, if Jackson Hayes is out there, we can't defend. It doesn't matter. You're defending fine. He can get the lob, and it's 2 point. You can press that button every time. Luka was out of sorts without the lob threat. Luka, by the way, was supposed to be the best player in the series. Wasn't one of the 2 best players in this series.
Could have been the 4th. McDaniels could have been better than him, too.
But, him being outplayed by Ant, I want to be awesome, great job. Again, we said this at the deadline. Oh, wow. Now LeBron actually can be the second best player. Nope. Never mind. Still the best guy. That is not how that's supposed to go in year 40. That it's just not. And it's a credit to him. It's why he's clearly the greatest player in the history of this sport. And you're legitimately out of your brain. People have been, by the way, because I'm going to just do this quickly. People are like, well, argument closed at the end of this season. Yeah, you're right. LeBron by a ton.
Huh?
40 years old, season 20. Hey, coach, what did Michael do in the playoffs year 40? I don't know. I don't know if you want to bring that up, right?
With the Wizards at that point?
Yes! He was! He couldn't walk! LeBron's a max-level player!
He could cross up, yeah.
Tough scene!
Yeah.
Now, the JJ piece of it, though, to me, JY, yes, the Mark Williams stuff was bad. I mean, it hurt them, but it didn't need to end they won a game. It didn't. Mark Williams is not the difference between the Lakers winning one playoff game and the Lakers winning a championship. That is an outrageous, and I'm not saying that's what you think, but yes, the Mark Williams stuff. But we didn't find out Mark Williams wasn't on this roster in Game 3. The whole thing was bad. We'll talk about Minnesota a little bit more, as well as OKC waiting in the wings next.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups. My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
They've won 7 in a row. They've been dominant at Citi Field. Lindor's been insane. Pete Alonso's been raking.
Griffin Canning, David Peterson, those guys have pitched really, really well. And when you put it together with that lineup, especially like you said, Lindor's been great. They've got the makings of something very special in Queens.
Pharrell, coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
Fans hate them. Like, kids go to Giant games and they're like, my father forces me to come, or my grandfather was a season ticket holder. Like, no one has fun. It's a miserable place to go.
The Giants' problem has always been over the last several years, and it's been the reason why Barkley never really got off, is the offensive line.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back at the right here on SportsGrid. I've calmed down. I was calm in the segment, despite what many would probably tell you. The Lakers loss, though, was frustrating to watch play out, admittedly. Yet Minnesota is set up now to make a legit run. And I think if you're Anthony Edwards, getting to the conference finals 2 straight years at the age of 23 is fantastic. When you do your re-ranking of best players in the world, Ant's going to be a big mover, I think, ultimately off of this postseason, assuming they aren't upset in round number 2. I guess the question is, and we bring these two teams a little bit together, so I'll go to you, Coach, as somebody who thought the conference finals matchup would be Oklahoma City, Minnesota, but is expecting Oklahoma City to win that. How much more of a chance are you giving Minnesota off of beating the Lakers?
I'm giving them a strong chance because I think they're playing their best basketball. And I think, while we talk about Ant being unguardable, we talk about what Rudy's given, secretly Julius Randle had a pretty decent series because he doesn't have to think that he's the man, because he's not. And it's Ant, and it's very simply put. But to me, and we talked about this, Kevin, is like McDaniels. I mean, no one saw that one coming. A guy that was getting 12 points a game during the regular season, now just exploded in the playoffs and what he gave. And it's more than just the game 1 performance. And listen, he was quiet in game 5 with only 8 points, but he fouled out. 16, 30, 25. If McDaniels gives you this, and then you have the bench with DiVincenzo, with Alexander Walker, and of course with Naz Reid, they become a way where they could play a lot of different styles. They can go really big. They can go really big and go with Naz and Rudy. They can go small with Naz at the 5 and then Randle at the 4. They can go McDaniels at the 3 and go with a 4 at the 4 and go 3-guard lineup. So to me, they pose threats because I think they are a sum of their parts that they can kind of like mix and match at the 3, 4, 5 position, what makes dangerous. And then they have a guy in Ant that I was like, before the season, okay, probably about 9, 10. I'm thinking about right now, like, you could be talking about, is the 5th best player in the world, ready? Jason Tatum or Anthony Edwards? If you really think it's some combination of Giannis, Joker, SGA, Luka.
Don't you think people are going to jump Ant in front of Luka off of this series in rankings?
It depends on what narrative you're trying to push. Of like we've seen it from Luka, we've seen it in the playoffs. It's not to say that we haven't seen it from Ant. Granted, a smaller sample size, but it depends on what you want to push ultimately.
But I also think what happens next series
is big.
I think next series is big. Yeah. If he gets to a second Western Conference Finals and they're competitive against OKC, you could talk about Ant being the fourth best player in the world, right behind Joker, Giannis, and SGA. But if they go the next series against either the Warriors and the Rockets, and they flame out, and Ant has a rough time, then I think he sits right there at 6, which is right above someone that we should also talk about at some point, and that's Kawhi at like 7.
Huh?
Currently?
I have Kawhi 7.
This is what I'm talking about.
That's a different story.
This guy, Kawhi.
Minnesota, I love what you said about Minnesota, and it's a team that what it reminds me of is a team when the Raptors won the title, right? When you have Ibaka out there and Siakam, right? And obviously Kawhi was there. They can play multiple ways. They can play small and shoot the 3. Multiple guards out there. They can play big and match different teams. And matching up against a team like Houston, I think is very, very interesting. What are they going to do? They got to shut down Van Vliet. They can throw a lot of different defensive assignments at Şengün, right? They can make his life difficult. This is assuming that the Rockets win, which is obviously, we've covered that.
I'm sorry.
I'm
just very curious.
I just blew the whole show up. Go ahead.
I'm just very curious.
I'm trying to stay on topic.
No. New topic. We're going to go to Greg Popovich in the next segment. So you have Kawhi as the 7th best player in the NBA.
Joker, Giannis, SGA, Luka, Tatum, Ant, Kawhi, LeBron.
This guy's better than LeBron. That's crazy. He plays half a season.
I know.
He plays half a season.
I know.
And he's 7th.
Yes.
That is so outrageous and yet so on brand for Kawhi Leonard. So all I ask of you is this, Coach. Before this show ends today, or at least before, if the Clippers do win this series, and now I really hope they do what you really want in your heart and switch that pick. Pick the Clippers to win the West because you know you want to. Do it again. Do it again. We'll talk Popovich next.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
They've won 7 in a row. They've been dominant at Citi Field. Lindor's been insane. Pete Alonso's been raking.
Griffin Canning, David Peterson, those guys have pitched really, really well. And when you put it together with that lineup, especially like you said, Lindor's been great. They've got the makings of something very special in Queens.
Pharrell, coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
Fans hate them. Like, kids go to Giant games and they're like, my father forces me to come, or my grandfather was a season ticket holder. Like, no one has fun. It's a miserable place to go.
The Giants' problem has always been over the last several years, and it's been the reason why Barkley never really got off, is the offensive line.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple 18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.